Finally today, Elon Musk. God, I wish I could go a day without talking about Elon Musk, but this is the world we live in now. According to a new report from The Hill, along with a piece from the New York Times that happened to be a profile of right-wing activist, talking head, whatever you want to call him, Charlie Kirk, there is a reason why Republicans in the United States Senate, even if they have objections to some of Trump's nominees, there is a very good reason why they are, of course, going along with everything Trump tells them to do. And that is, again, according to both Charlie Kirk and the New York Times and reporting on The Hill, because they're terrified. These Republican senators, some of whom have served in there 10, 20, 30 years, in the case of Mitch McConnell, 40 years, are terrified that Elon Musk is going to fund a primary challenger against them and cost them their job. So they have decided to forfeit their backbones to get rid of any independent thinking they may have in their head, just so they can keep their job. A job that they're telling us they're not going to do properly because they're afraid of losing their job. How ironic is that, right? Like, well, I don't want to object to these people. I don't want to vote my conscience or vote my morals or vote my brain. So I'm just going to do what that guy tells me to do. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here to do what that guy tells you to do. Like, do we need you there? Do you have a job worth saving if you're not going to exercise your independence? Right? I think that's the big irony that, of course, neither the New York Times piece nor the piece on The Hill mentioned. These people are so desperate to save their jobs that they're not willing to do their job, which means they shouldn't even have the job. Kind of funny how things like that work out, right? And of course, the media never bothers to mention the most common sense pieces of the articles that they're writing. But the threat of primary challenges is, of course, very real. Not because Charlie Kirk says, oh, I'll go out there and get the people. Sure you will, Chuck. Whatever. The real threat is that the world's richest human being is the one doing the threatening. So when Elon Musk says, I'll pay $50 million to have somebody run against you, he'll do it. If he has to spend $100 million, he'll do it. If he has to drive himself into bankruptcy, he'll probably do it. And I hope he does. That would be hilarious. But there's one thing that I think a lot of these Republicans in Washington, D.C. simply don't understand about American politics, which is also ironic because they're in American politics, but they're so in it that they can't see the forest for the trees, right? Here's what it is. You have the threat of a primary challenger, but not just a different Republican, okay? It's going to be a MAGA loyalist. So you would have to run against a MAGA loyalist, a hard right, Trump is the best thing to ever happen to the world person in your primary. And what a lot of these people in DC, the Republicans, aren't taking into consideration is, can that even work in my state? I mean, listen, I know that Trump won a lot of states where these Republicans are representing right now. But at the end of the day, we also saw a lot of ticket splitting. Great example, Arizona. Arizona went for Donald Trump. Kari Lake, huge Trumper, also on the ballot for the Senate. Do you see Senator Kari Lake in Washington, D.C.? Nope. Because what's good for the top of the ballot is not always what's good for the rest of the ballot, and so on. So the threat of a MAGA primary challenger should not actually be that terrifying to most Republicans in this country. Now, are there areas of the country where a MAGA challenger could absolutely unseat a moderate? Absolutely. The problem that Elon Musk and Donald Trump has is that those states already have MAGA senators. Like, Alabama, Louisiana. You already got MAGA guys. South Carolina, you got Lindsey Graham. Okay, so a MAGA challenger could win there, but you're not going to have one because you already have the MAGA people. Now you start venturing out into other parts of the country, right? North Carolina? You think a MAGA challenger is going to win in North Carolina? I don't. Do you think a MAGA challenger is going to win in, the Rust Belt? I don't. So the threat isn't that big of a threat when you start to look at it and analyze it critically. But these Republicans aren't doing that because they're being told you're not allowed to think critically. You have to do whatever we tell you to do. And if you don't, we're going to send a MAGA challenger over to your purple state. And let's see how that works. Probably not as good as they think. And by the way, it's the same thing, and I've talked about this before, it's the same thing on the left too, right? Because I've seen a lot of people that have suggested that, a Democrat would have won here if they were more progressive. If you had like a Bernie Sanders type, you probably could have won that race. No, you can't. You can't take a Bernie Sanders type, really far left guy and have them win in the state of Florida. That'll never happen. You can't stick somebody like that in Texas and have them win. That's not going to happen. You can't do it in West Virginia, right? That's why Joe Manchin, as horrible as he was, that's why he kept winning. If he had been more to the left, a Republican would have taken over. You've got to know the country. You got to get outside of your bubbles for the most part to understand that some politicians, whether it's far right, mid left, far left, some work in different areas of the country, some don't. It's a hodgepodge, right? That's kind of what makes the country great. So these Republicans that are terrified of primary challengers aren't looking at their state critically and thinking, well, wait a minute. I know Trump did win the state, but that doesn't mean there's a MAGA people. He was the only choice there. You look at other red states, which again, mostly purple states, the MAGA person didn't win. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, look, Herschel Walker from Georgia didn't win back in 2020. So there's a lot of areas, right? Or 2022, I guess it was. But anyway, a lot of areas, even Republican areas, where super far right MAGA people simply don't stand a chance. But these spineless Republicans have been told for too long to not think about things. So they don't seem to realize that these threats from Elon Musk are likely toothless. That is all the time we have for today, folks. I want to thank David and, of course, producer Pat for letting me sit in here for the last 2 days. Again, if you want more from me, youtube.com/TheRingOfFire, youtube.com/FairAndBalanced, across social media @FairAndBalanced. Thank you so much for watching. And for the members, I got a great members only show coming up for you in just a little bit. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. And I will see you next time David decides to go on vacation and is kind enough to ask for me to sit in for him. So thank you, David. Thank you, audience. Have a great day.
Many of us loved eating breakfast cereals as kids, but now that we're adults, you don't want all the sugar and the carbs, which is why I love our sponsor, Magic Spoon, the nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like your favorite sugary cereals from childhood, but without the sugar and packed with protein. Every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs, so you can feel good about what you're eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, but there are many more. And if you're already a fan of Magic Spoon, I have big news. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high-protein treats that are light, crispy, and crunchy, and taste just like the classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon treats have become a favorite go-to snack because it's an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Pacman or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. The link is in the description.